Hi guys, Goffy here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk about what's in this box. I am super excited to share it with you. You'll know recently on the channel I've been selling quite a lot of gear. More gear than normal, a lot of Fuji gear, but it was all because I was getting rid of my XH2S for the FX30. But that freed up quite a lot of money for me to have a go with a new camera. And to be honest with you guys, I've been wanting this for maybe the best part of about 6 months, and it's finally here. You've already seen the title of this video, so you know what it is, and that's probably a good sign if I've made the video, that it is actually in here. I hate polystyrene. It makes me feel really weird, but let's get in it. And that is this. I don't know if you guys can see it or it's gonna focus. I probably need to hide me. It is an M10 Monochrom. This is exciting. I think we're gonna need to rearrange you guys a little bit. So, here it is. This is my new toy. It is absolutely ridiculous, and it did feel a bit crazy buying it. It is the M10 Monochrom. Now this does kick off our month of mono. So we're gonna be doing 1 month's worth of videos where everything is monochrome. And I wanna take you guys on the journey of me discovering black and white to some extent, because now I know this is gonna sound a bit ridiculous. I don't really like black and white photography, and I have some pretty crazy views on it. Now, one of those views is a great image is always better in color, and a bad image can be improved by black and white. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but to be honest, I do kind of believe it. So this journey of monochrome for the next month is me giving black and white photography a chance without being able to cheat. I'm somebody who has bad willpower. I've tried to do a month of black and white before, but the reality was I was taking color images, converting them to black and white, but I still had the color ones. So I didn't really have any of the pain of only having black and white. I wasn't really forced into it in a way that was actually meaningful. Where with this should force me into a whole month of monochrome, whether I like it or not. So my plan is not to shoot any other cameras for the next 28 days, starting from today. I am super excited about it. Now, honestly, I know it sounds ridiculous that I don't like black and white, and I just spent $4.5 grand on a black and white camera, but I think this will be a learning curve for me, and I think it's gonna open my eyes to just a different part of photography. And for that, I'm super excited about it. Now, I think the next thing I want to do is quickly go and put a lens on here and just take a random picture in the house to make sure that it works. So I've gone and grabbed a lens. We've got my 35mm Summicron, and I guess to take a initial picture, let's go with, you know what, let's go with this vase down here. Pretty much auto setting everything, and there it is. It's most definitely black and white, but it works. You can probably tell I'm a little bit relieved that everything's worked out well here. Now, in terms of initial impressions, because I think it's great to get the initial unboxing impressions, I love the color, which sounds ridiculous. It's a black and white camera and it's black, but this matte black finish looks really nice. I don't think I've ever seen a mono camera in real life, so this is my first time like seeing one. That matte black look of this camera, and the fact that the red dot's missing, it really does look completely different to my M10, even though it's arguably the same thing. The other thing that then obviously stands out is the fact I got a base plate again. Having owned the M11, I kind of got used to not having a base plate, but it's pretty minor. The only thing that I'm gonna miss, I think, is the longer battery life and USB-C charging. Now, in terms of the rest of this video, we've actually got a weekend away. It's Thursday today, and I've got a 4-day weekend because it's Claire's birthday. We're actually going away as well. She doesn't know where. We're going to a place called Arundel. It's a little kind of village town with a brewery as well. So I'm really excited to take this on our first couple days out and bring you guys along with me, and yeah, see if I can fall into love. See if I can fall into love. See if I can fall in love with black and white. Who knows? We're gonna find out. I'm gonna force myself. 28 days. That's it. No more color photos starting from right now. So, It's been a few days. It's actually been 4 days in total, I think. We did go to Arundel. You'd have seen some of the pictures. It was a small town with a massive castle. We did go around the castle a little bit in terms of the gardens, but not much inside. The real reason we went to Arundel was to try out the brewery, which was Arundel Brewery, and it didn't disappoint. There was also another one, I think it was called Fauna Brewery, that was at the back of the castle gardens as well. We had an absolutely incredible weekend, and most importantly, it gave me a good excuse to be trying out this M10 Mono over the last few days. And first of all, I don't know why I'm sat in a field to do this bit, but I just wanted to talk to you about the shooting experience. What has it been like to use? Now, I think we'll quickly do some comparisons with other cameras that I've owned. Now, first of all, compared to the M11, battery life is noticeably terrible. Compared to the M11, I normally finish a full day shooting on 50%. Basically, every day I use this camera, it was in the red, and it wasn't that really intense in terms of shooting. If I was doing a proper shoot on like a holiday or a day trip, then do you know what? I think I'm going to need to invest in a second battery, which is exactly the same as what my M10 experience was like. It was one of the big pros moving up to the M11. The other thing that's been catching me out a lot, and I think over the first 2 days it was annoying me, but I've got used to it already, is the fact that the thumb wheel on the back, again, is an M11 feature that it clicks in. I've been using that to punch in on my M11, and I've had to get used to like scrolling to zoom into my images again when I'm checking them on the LCD. Also, within my first few images, I could tell that this camera does behave a lot like my M10 did in terms of blowing the hell out of the highlights. And I think, and we're going to see this a little bit when I go back to my desk and show you some of the images, it's probably a little bit more prone to blowing out highlights than the color camera is. That black and white sensor, if you blow them highlights, they're really hard to recover, whereas shadow retention is absolutely mind-blowing, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Something that I didn't really expect to happen, but I found myself doing a lot over the last week, is stopping down. I think my most common f-stop has been f8. Like, genuinely, I think I've shot at f8 and f11 more than I've shot wide open, which on this Summicron feels like a little bit of a waste, but this is where this camera comes alive, because if you're shooting at f8, you're naturally going to hit some higher ISOs throughout your day. Now, early on in the trip, I shot a couple of images at 6400 ISO. There's some geese coming over and they're really low. Can you see that? Can you see them? Look at this. That is nuts. That is nuts. I don't know why I'm not taking a picture of that. But at 6400 ISO, even on the LCD on the camera, I could tell that the images looked great. So then I thought, let's try 12,500. And the images still looked great. So I found myself using auto ISO a little bit. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I do. And I've set my max to 12,500 and my minimum shutter speed, fastest shutter speed, slowest shutter speed to 125th of a second, which means basically every time I was indoors, I found myself hitting those high ISOs quite a bit, but the images still look incredible. I'll show you in a minute when we get back to my desk, but the high ISO capabilities of this camera is nuts. And I'm looking forward to, over the next few weeks, trying out some even higher ISOs than 12,500, because I have a feeling at 25,000, this thing might still perform. For most of the weekend, I was shooting on the 35mm Summicron. It's a lens that I'm becoming really quite fond of. I want to sell it and move on, so I want a 28mm Summicron instead. My only issue with this lens is it's 35 rather than 28, but I've had a great time using this lens and it looks great on the camera as well. I have also at some points been using the 28mm Ultra on my Voigtlander lens, and that is a silver lens. Now, I thought I would absolutely hate how a black camera and silver lens combination would look, but I actually found myself quite liking how it looked. And I thought maybe I was just having, I don't know, maybe a bit of a funny honeymoon period. So I actually put it up on Instagram and did a little poll. It turns out a lot of you felt the same. A lot of you thought a silver lens black camera actually looked pretty nice. A few of you didn't, and a few of you reached out beyond just doing the poll and told me exactly what you thought about it. But yeah, I didn't think I would like that. I thought maybe it'd make me want to change all my silver lenses for black ones, but that's definitely not the case. So when it comes to what this camera is like to use, exactly like my M10. It's got some of the kind of downsides in terms of me upgrading to the M11 and then kind of coming back a little bit to an M10. But beyond that, this has been so much fun. I can't explain how much fun I've had using this camera. And so far, I haven't really missed the fact that I've not been able to take any color images. Now, I think what we're going to do next is I'm going to pack the camera up and get away from all these geese and stuff that keep flying over and get back to my desk and show you guys what some of the files look like, because this is where I think I've probably been surprised the most. it's blown my mind just how good the files are. So we're back at my desk, and now we're back at my desk, I wanted to show you guys some of the files in Lightroom. Not just show you the images that you've been seeing throughout the video, but also show you just how cool these files are to use. Because to be honest, I've had as much fun sat here looking at the images as I have actually going out and shooting them. Now the first thing I want to show you is just what the images look like unedited. I had a bit of a worry coming into this that all the images were going to look super flat and it would take me ages, and I mean ages, to go through and edit them. But if we turn this to edited no and look at all of these images on the screen now, they are anything but flat. Flat is definitely not something that is coming to mind when I'm looking at these images. Here's a really good example of that. Now Lightroom does seem to apply a bit of a tone curve, which looks great, but even if you take this tone curve out, the images still look really nice and contrasty. They don't look super flat, and that was definitely a worry of mine coming into it. A lot of the images that I've shared throughout this video have barely been edited at all. Now, the next thing that's been blowing my mind is resolution. Now, using this image as an example, I know it's not the best image in the world, but the resolution on this when you zoom in looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, it's been blowing my mind a little bit, and it's lent to me doing a little bit more research because it feels like this has more resolution than my M11, which it shouldn't, because the M10M, 40 megapixels, my M11, 60, but genuinely these files feel better than the files coming out of my M11. Now it turns out there is some technical reason as to why, and it's to do with removing the color filter that the images feel like they have more resolution than they do. In a future video, I'll dive into it a little bit and explain it, but honestly, the resolution is one of the things that's been blowing my mind, especially like I said earlier as well, where I've been shooting at much smaller apertures like f8 all the time. I'm really seeing that resolution come through as well in the images. Another thing that's blown my mind over the last few days is shadow retention. Pulling back shadows has been ludicrous. This image here kind of looks all right, doesn't it? There's nothing particularly wrong with this image. It looks pretty well balanced, but originally it looked like this. Like, is madness. All I've done is use my basic adjustments. I've increased the exposure, dropped the highlights, increased the shadows, and now we've got a perfectly good image. And all of this stuff where we've raised the shadows up still looks great. Shadow retention, insane. Highlight retention, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite. It's not good. It's not good. It's really easy to blow highlights by accident. There's an image, it's clearly overexposed, but I think if I'd shot this with color, there would be something left in the sky. But with this, there's absolutely nothing, and it's easily done. I've done it in so many of these images, like this one. The image is not that overexposed. It is a little bit, but I am dead certain that on my M10 and my M11 previously, this would be fine, but it's completely blown. There's nothing up there at all, which is a bit of a shame, because one of the things that I found I really like about this is more to do with shooting black and white than the camera itself, is how much fun I'm having with the clouds. Now this is an example of an image that I think if I'd shot it in color would have looked really boring. Really boring because there wasn't really that much in the sky. It was a pretty dull, overcast day. But when you look at it in black and white, and I noticed this on the LCD of the camera as well at the time, the sky looks really cool. I have added a little bit of a graduated filter to this to add a bit more kind of contrast into that sky. But I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's definitely something I've had fun experimenting with. I do think one of the areas where black and white is generally falling down is in images that have a lot of detail in them. A good example would be an image like this. I feel like this is an example where there's so much going on in it, there's lots of textures, that actually having a bit of color would help separate the image out a little bit. And it's ones like this where there's just so much detail in there, especially shot at a small aperture, which is really bringing everything out, that things just feel a little bit busy. A little bit of color in that image would have helped break it up a bit. And I think that's the ones where I've missed color a little bit. But that's enough of us skimming through images in Lightroom. I think the short story here is the images have been blowing my mind. Like, as much fun as I've been having out shooting, actually sitting down and editing the images, I've been really pleasantly surprised. They're contrasty straight out of camera, the shadow retention is insane, the highlights is a little bit annoying, and the resolution is genuinely mind-blowing. It feels better than my M11. So I guess we probably round out this video back where it started, 4 days ago when I unboxed this camera sat here at my dining table. Now I can already tell that this camera is changing my photography habits for the better. There's a few things I can see in my images that have already changed. Now, I want to quickly share a stat with you before you go, and that is this one. Now what this shows me is lots of you guys watch my videos all the time. You come back, you watch them more than once, but you haven't hit that subscribe button. So if that's you, then please consider hitting that subscribe button and following along for what I think I'm going to be calling Mono Month. I've enjoyed my first 4 days. Let's see how the next 24 go, eh? This video has been a bit longer than usual. If you're still here, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.